All right, shalom, shalom. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Call hello Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bashim Kakudash. All right, double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who learned this understanding, this knowledge from, the scriptures. Salutation to you brothers that learn too, and that enduring, that's listening, that are fighting this fight. All right, so we're in for this battle, man. You're all in. It's all or nothing. All right, and the topic of this video is based off of the book of Maccabees, because I've been reading a little bit of the book of Maccabees, and I see how the Lord, starting with Judas Maccabees' father, Mattathias, which he came in with the spirit of Phineas. All right, he's zealous for the law. When you read the book of Numbers, the 24th chapter, you see what Phineas did to the Midianite woman, and an Israelite that was I think he followed after Baal or Baal. Matter of fact, let me just go to it real quick. But the main topic of this is to speak about some of the acts of Judas Maccabees, and I just wanted to bring out an example of Antiochus or Antiochus. Some call him Antiochus, some call him Antiochus, which he was a tyrant that brought hell upon the Israelites that dwelt in Jerusalem. All right, basically the southern kingdom. All right, he put hell upon him, and he was a Greek. He was an Edomite. All right, that dwelt in the land of in Greece. All right, one of the lines of Alexander's 4 generals. All right, so I said Numbers 24. Numbers 24. All right, we're at number 24, and Shalak. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Let me see, what is it? Number 24. Number 25. Yeah, it had to be. Yeah, number 20. It's Numbers 25. It's not Numbers 24. Numbers 25. All right. Backdrop of the story. There was a snare laid for the children of Israel in the form of another god. Numbers 25 and 21. 25 and 1. It says, "And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they came." Shalakia. It says, "And they called the people unto the sacrifice of their gods. And the people did eat and bow down to their gods. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel." And why? Because one of the commandments the Lord gave to Moses said, don't put any other gods before us. All right, and the gods of the other nations, all right, mainly the god of Moab, which is Baal Peor, all right, they were called to worship that god. All right, Israel was in the wilderness at that. Israel was, I believe they was in the wilderness, or in their journeys, all right, in the wilderness, and they was called to worship the god of Moab, all right, the god of the daughter of Moab. Verse 25 is, verse 4 says, and the Lord said unto Moses, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before the Lord against the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel. So, that was the command that Moses was given. All right, that you take all the heads of Israel and you hang them to turn away the wrath of the Heavenly Father. All right, from Israel, because you remember what happened with Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. All right. Let me see. These men were set up to be hanged. All right. It says, verse 5, it says, "And Moses said unto the judges of Israel, slay ye every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor. And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses, and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And when Phinehas Phineas, Phineas, or Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw it. He rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand, and he went after the man of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel. Hey, back then, you had to, if an Israelite was going off, they had to get put to death because of the plague that would come upon Israel. The Lord would jack Israel up and people would die on the account that you had other Israelites that was worshiping other gods, man. And that's how real it was, man. All right. But in that time, Phineas, all right, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, he took the javelin and he went after the man that brought in the Midianitish woman, all right, to take the plague away from Israel. Now, moving to Maccabees, moving to the book of Maccabees, there was an example of that, all right? There was an example of that, of Mattathias, all right? Mattathias was Judas Maccabees' father, all right, and he was the father of 5 men, all right, and these 5 men would lead insurrection or an uprising, all right, and put fear into the hearts of the wicked, all right, because of their belief. And the reason why I brought out the book of Numbers, the 25th chapter, that's what I read, because I brought that out because basically this man, he was zealous because he had to take away the plague from Israel, all right? And Mattathias, it seems as though he had that same spirit, and it's actually mentioned in the scriptures, all right? And I'm looking for it right now. It's either in the third chapter. I'm just gonna read through here real quick. I'm gonna read First Maccabees 2, verse 1, and I'm gonna skip around. I'm gonna read the first chapter. It says, "In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Jaarib from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin." All right, and so they were Levites. Mattathias, he was a Levite. All right, he's from the tribe of Loya, which means joined unto me in Hebrew. All right, and it says, "And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people, and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers. Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets." And these were Israelites, all right? These were Israelites catching hell. All right? He said, "Woe is me, wherefore was I born in that misery?" Because he had to see that with his own eyes. He had to see the slain of his people. These were so-called Negroes. All right, these were so-called, you would call them today Jamaicans, or you could call them today Haitians. All right, they were being slain. All right, their sons and daughters were being slain by the stranger, basically by so-called white people, by Edomites back then, which called themselves Greeks. All right, he had to see that with his own eyes. All right, and it says, "And of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers. Her temple was become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away." So they took all the gold vessels, all right, the precious vessels, all the goodly things out of the temple, all right. And it says, "Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets, her young men with the sword." So the young men were getting put to death. These were teenagers, are similar to like you see so-called black on black crime today. All right. Well, guess what? It was crime back then. They were being slain in the streets, man. All right. The Edomites were killing them. All right. The Greek army, back then, when the Greeks came in, they put Israel under a state of martial law, man. And this is what Maccabees is speaking about. This is what he had to see. All right. Her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation have not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? All right, because they took all the wealth out of the nation of Israel. All right. They took all the wealth from the nation of Israel. It says, what nation have not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? All her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman, she's become a bond slave. All right, they put our women into slavery. Mainly Israel was a free woman, because the scriptures, it says for Jerusalem, as a matter of fact, let's get it. Oh, man. Scriptures say Jerusalem is the mother of us all. All right, so in that time, Jerusalem, which this is Galatians 4:26, it says, but Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. All right, so she went from becoming free unto that bond woman. All right, and that's what our people, and to this day, our people are still in that state. So-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So Maccabees was born into this misery, and he saw these things. It says, of a free woman she's become a bond slave, and behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. All right, so the Gentiles, it means the other nations, because in this time the Gentiles were the other nations, mainly the Greeks. All right. And as you read in the earlier chapters, we became Gentiles because we served those other nations. And once Judas Maccabees, all right, came back, you know, he was winning wars, and he came back, and the people that were uncircumcised, they turned from the laws and commandments, all right, from the Father, all right, and joined on to the Gentiles, which were the Greeks. All right, and they became uncircumcised, and they became Gentiles. They were getting put to death when Judas Maccabees got raised up. All right, and a lot of them, all right, that turned from the laws and customs of their fathers, they took part in the persecution of the Israelites that wanted to stay and keep the laws and statutes and commandments and keep the laws of their fathers. They fought with the Gentiles, with the Greeks. Basically, they fought with the so-called white man against their own people that followed after Yahweh Bashim Yahushua and the commandments. All right, the people that originally had the goodly vessels in the temple and was carried away. All right, that's you know, this is how we became Gentiles, or this is how the Israelites became Gentiles. All right, so we're covering a period of history in the Maccabees. All right, that still has an effect on us today. All right. Let's see. Verse 12, it says, and behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. Why? Because they burnt on the altar swine's flesh. All right. The Lord gave us a commandment to you know, make sacrifices a sweet smell, but instead they sacrifice on the altar of the Lord swine's flesh, man. All right, which is wicked as hell, man. That's another reason why the so-called white man is going to be destroyed. The Lord remember that stinky, funky smell, man. All right, golly, man. These Edomites, you got a lot to pay for, man. You Edomites, man. You so-called white people, man. All right, it even goes back to these times that we're reading now. Verse 13, it says, to what end thereof shall we live any longer? Then Maccabees and his sons rent their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourn very sore, because, yeah, that was a terrible time for Israel, man. Many great atrocities were being committed on a people. All right, on our people. All right. All right. So this is verse 15. It says, "In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, and came into the city of Modin." Now you come into the city where Mattathias and the Maccabees are. He did it in Jerusalem. All right. You killed women that circumcised their children. All right. You put women in slavery. They raped. All right. They robbed. Literally, they took things out of the temple and they murdered. All right. They murdered the young. It's all here, man. All right. So you did that in Jerusalem. Now you're gonna come to Modin, where the Maccabees stayed at. And now you're going to pull that same thing with your officers. And amongst those officers, all right, were Israelites that turned from the customs of their fathers, all right, and they followed after the Greeks, and they oppressed other Israelites, man. All right, like Judas Maccabees. All right, and this is what the officer said. It says, verse 15, it says, "In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city Modin to make them sacrifice. And when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together." All right, so it's like they came into like a great place where, you know, things are being said. All right, like pretty much a concourse or like a marketplace. All right, and they said, "Then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise, Thou art a ruler," because Mattathias, they said, "Thou art a ruler," all right, because he had influence over men, and he had sons, all right, and he probably had some substance too, and well, he had substance with him. I said, "Mattathias, on this wise, thou art ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Now therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as the remnant at Jerusalem." All right, so it says the men of Judah. All right, so in these various cities in Israel and the men of Judah, they came and they followed after the king's commandment. All right, and they left their customs. All right, and they did it at Jerusalem. All right, it said Judah also and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and their house be numbered of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. So they were offered many rewards. All right, they were offered silver and gold for being a head family. Can you imagine all that influence that Mattathias had in the city of Modin? All right, and if he was to turn from the Lord, how would the people of the city, what would the people of the city do? They would do the same thing. All right, but here's Mattathias, a man filled with the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. All right, and he had to lead the people. All right, he had to be an example for the people, and this is what lacks in our nation, in the nation of Israel today. You don't have stand-up people willing to make a sacrifice. All right, but the men of the Lord, that's why men of the Lord are out there on the highways and the hedges. All right, making a sacrifice. All right. Let me get this scripture real quick. This is Ecclesiastes 7. Ecclesiastes 7:7, it says, "Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart." So if he would have took this gift, he would have been able to be one of the king's friends, which was of the wicked. All right, and you can see that the king put hell upon Israel. So here it is, you know, you're gonna go after the king that put hell upon Israel and killed your people and be one of his friends. All right, that's the mindset of our people today. Here it is, the so-called white man. Back then he did that. All right, and in these times he's doing the same thing. All right, you want to go make deals with this devil. All right, you're looking to be one of his friends. That's why you got one of these pastors. He went unto Trump and he's catching hell for talking about Trump, basically being a friend of Donald Trump, man. But a gift destroys the heart, and Mattathias was offered rewards, all right, by the officers that the king sent.